They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
Okay, welcome to episode 8 of Chronicles on the Fly, and I'm Simon.
And I'm Mel. How are you going?
Very well, very well. And it's Anzac Day, the 25th of April 2020, but a very different one than usual.
Very different, most different.
Yeah, so we've just introed the podcast with the last post. And what are your thoughts on Anzac Day, Mel?
Well, it's a bit different because normally I don't mind going down to the city and not going to the march because I'm a bit, I respect the vets a lot. So, yeah, it was a bit different this morning. I did get up at 5:55, went to the front.
Did you?
Got up 5:55, put the ABC on, stood at the front, had a torch.
Uh-huh.
And there's a few people on my street actually that actually did do it. There was about 4 or 5 houses up. There was someone with a bugle. They were playing.
Oh, awesome.
So it was nice and loud. Yeah, so it was really loud. And then I think it must have been 2 streets behind. There was someone else with a bugle because they're out of sync. One started before than the other. And I think, it was really good, actually. Really good.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
It was a bit different.
I didn't get up, but I was awake. And I heard like what do you call it, like an aeroplane formation flyover. So obviously they I would imagine, left from Jandakot Airport.
Yeah.
And did a flyover. So that was good. You ever been to a dawn service?
No, not a dawn service. I'd like to go. I just think they're pretty important for the soldiers to go there and the return vets.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind going to a local RSL or something like that, one of their services. But I do go. I've been a couple of years to the march in the city. I've gone by myself, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I haven't been to the Kings Park dawn service, which is obviously the big one in Perth, but I've been 2 or 3 times to the one in Fremantle at Monument Hill, I think it's called, where it's the Fremantle War Memorial. And it's pretty good because my father-in-law is a Vietnam veteran, and so my wife and I have been with him a few times.
Where did he serve?
He was in I don't know exactly what his regiment or whatever they are called, but he was an engineer or in the engineers. So I don't know, WA engineers or something like that. He's told me before, but maybe I'll ask him again this weekend about it. So he wasn't like a combat soldier, but he was in the engineers. So what they used to do was search for mines, basically.
Yeah, they had a very tough job, the engineers.
Yeah, and
take my hat off to them.
They were nicknamed the tunnel rats because they would go.
Was he a tunnel rat?
Yeah. They would go into tunnels searching for when Viet Cong had kind of cleared out. This is my understanding. When they'd cleared out of a village or an area, they'd go searching for live mines and bombs and things like that. And when they'd find them, they'd blow them up.
Jeez.
And things like that. So he never saw combat, which is, obviously thankful for. But no doubt he's never gone into detail, but I'm sure that, he would have seen some stuff. But he's also got a lot of good tales about his time at Vietnam as well. A lot of vets come home with, post-traumatic stress disorder and PTSD and things like that. And I'm sure that there's some of that left over, probably with every single one. I think you're not human if you come back from a war and don't have something.
Oh, yeah, I can just imagine what these guys.
Some sort of mental scarring or something like that. But thankfully, he didn't actually see combat. So that's a good thing, if you ask me.
I'll take my hat off to him, mate.
Serving. Yeah, he's very proud of his service, and so he should be.
But he was Italian born, wasn't he?
He was
born in Italy?
born in Molise in Italy and came here as a 14-year-old kid. And by 18, he was in Vietnam fighting for Australia.
Wow, it's pretty impressive.
I'm pretty sure at that time that he was over in Vietnam, he wasn't yet an Australian citizen. But he was, but in the Australian Army. So he did his training at Pacapanho, I think it is.
Pacapanho, yeah.
I think that's where a lot of Vietnam soldiers left from. What's close? That's New South Wales, I think, Pacapanho. I
don't know a lot. I don't know a lot about it, but I've heard of it.
The training base, I think it is. And I'm not sure exactly where he left from. So I'll have to catch up the story with him this weekend, I think. So he's very, very proud of his service. But they were treated like shit when they got back. While they were away, and when they got back, he likes to joke sometimes. That he fought for this country, type of thing. Even though he knows that it wasn't fighting to defend Australia. Let's say because they were shoved over there to. They were, I suppose, inserted into someone else's conflict, let's say, into America's conflict. And you could argue that, the Americans shouldn't have been involved. I don't know.
Trying to reduce the spread of communism. That's what they were trying to do.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on the reasons for being over there, rightly or wrongly?
Oh, well, that's a tough one. I mean, I don't know really, to be honest, a lot about the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
I've only seen snippets about it. Obviously, America likes to... Whether it's South America, whether it's Asia, whether it's the Middle East, they always stick their nose in the trough. It's, we've seen that obviously with the weapons of mass destruction. We saw that in the 80s with the Sandinistas and Nicaragua and all those countries when they got involved in, and Panama and all these countries they got involved in. Then then you go back to Vietnam, and there was a lot of times, I think it was in the 60s and the 70s, where they were also involved in some African conflicts. So they always stuck their nose in the trough sometimes, but it's obviously was to stop the spread of communism.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough about the politics to I suppose have 100% opinion one way or the other. But I think it's pretty common opinion that they should not have been there, and it was a fruitless war. They definitely got their asses handed to them.
Yeah, well, right or wrong, at the end of the day, we have to look. They went to war, and a lot of Australians served, whether for the right reason or not. They still served, and they deserve the respect. They deserve the utmost respect for putting their lives on the line.
Absolutely. I wouldn't say a word against any, whether it's Australian, New Zealander, or American soldier. Yeah,
absolutely. And they did what they had. And that's I think a lot of people. Obviously hating on the vets when they came back, for being involved in a war. Well, they were just doing their job.
There were a lot of protests all over the world, really, all countries that were involved.
I think, but I'm not sure, but was it 1987 they finally got recognised?
And I know this from my father-in-law telling me when they came back. I don't think he experienced much abuse, but I think he saw it because they were kind of brought back to Sydney. And then he had to make his own way back to Perth of his own dime, which is disgraceful. And that's it. That was the end of it. make your way back home. And then, I think it was the late 80s. I can't remember, I don't know exactly what year.
It was that singer, Normie. It was a Normie Rowe.
I think Normie Rowe
that actually pushed it.
Was pushed for it, yeah.
Yeah, it pushed for it. It was like saying, these boys deserve recognition. And they did.
So they organised a return parade for Vietnam vets. But the thing was, again, you had to make your own way there, right?
Oh, joking.
Not paid by the government. So my father-in-law didn't go. His attitude was get stuffed. Didn't pay for me to come back home. And you're not paying for me to go. Go back over for the parade. He didn't want to be involved. And for years he didn't. I'm pretty sure he didn't march in the parade as well. But in recent years, he's gone every year to dawn service and parade with his vet mates. But they were treated like shit by the public and by the government. It's disgraceful.
It is disgraceful.
These guys were conscripted. I mean, he was just unlucky that his number had come up. What choice did he have? 18 years old. So I think he served 2 years. If I remember correctly, he was 2 years over in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep, definitely.
But God bless these soldiers. God bless them.
Oh, just champions.
For what they've seen and what they've done is.
I watched. So obviously Anzac Day is started as a commemoration of mainly Gallipoli, right? It's the
Gallipoli.
Is the date of the landing at Gallipoli? Is that
date of the landing at Gallipoli? That's
right.
Correct.
Right. Which was an absolute cock up of a campaign.
That was a pretty tactically poor by the British there. They were sent to the slaughter.
Tactically poor or done on purpose? Because there's two schools of thoughts, I think. Because I've heard and read that the British sent Australians and New Zealanders to Gallipoli as a diversionary tactic, and knew that they were going to get slaughtered, but just sent them because they were nothing, not important. I don't know.
But if you look at it, they had no. I mean, I've never been, but I know a few people that have. A friend of mine actually lived in Turkey for a while, and he did tours.
Yep.
And he was saying, they had no chance.
Yeah. Well, I was listening to a radio interview during the week with an Anzac historian, and I love listening to these guys. They're so knowledgeable. They're brilliant. And he said that they were dropped off at the wrong spot. They got their they got their bearings wrong, and they were dropped off at a spot where the cliffs were, far more sheer and jagged and dangerous than where they were supposed to be, and made it 10 times worse.
It was similar to what happened in Normandy in 1944 when the Allies invaded Europe. Well, the Americans got the bearings wrong, so they went to Omaha and Utah Beach, and they got absolutely slaughtered, whereas everyone else who went to the other beaches, I forgot the names of them, the Canadians, the British, and I think there was some Australians that served there. They actually weren't too bad. They were pretty straightforward and went straight through, whereas a lot of the American, the Rangers, the poor guys copped it because they got dropped off at the wrong point.
Yeah, so it's Gallipoli, I suppose, that is, mythologized. Is that the word?
And the other thing is, I think a lot of diggers were in the Somme, in the Battle of the Somme. I think it was in France in 17. I think they lost. I think Australia lost more soldiers there than they did in Gallipoli. I'm pretty sure it was the Somme.
I think there's some stat that I remember reading. I don't remember the stat exactly, but in one particular day in the Somme, they lost more than the entire Gallipoli campaign, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think that might be a particular stat. Back to Vietnam. I mean, I think that's a war that we never really knew much about. Like, I remember, social studies and things like that, at high school, we would do a bit about Gallipoli, we'd learn a bit about Gallipoli, but there was never much mention of Vietnam and, all the backstory to that and all that kind of thing. I think that's something that needs to be taught in schools.
But you got to understand, I think at the time, we were in school in the 80s and the 80s and the 90s, Vietnam was still pretty fresh in terms. It wasn't taboo. It just like hadn't been a long time since it had been finished, as opposed to the Second World War had been finished 50 years and Gallipoli had been finished for 70 years or whatever it was. And that's where I think why they probably didn't teach it as such. That's like the social studies now, or society environment, whatever they call that class. Would they be teaching about the Gulf War and the Iraq War?
Yeah,
and
okay.
The war? Yeah,
or will they ever? But I wonder if Vietnam and maybe even Korean War. I don't know anything about the Korean War. Really.
The Forgotten War.
Is that called the Forgotten War? Okay, makes sense.
Well, does anyone really know much about the Korean? Why the Korean War? Who started the Korean War? It wasn't even US. It was a US-led UN peacekeeping trip.
I got to admit ignorance about that one. I know absolutely nothing about.
I know very little about that. Very little.
But I know Australia was involved in it too.
Very, very, yeah, absolutely. They were involved in that one.
But last night I watched a movie about Vietnam called Danger Close: The Battle of Long Tan.
Yes.
Right. Long Tan is it's probably the marquee battle in terms of Australians and New Zealanders in the Vietnam War. And who had ever heard of Long Tan until quite recently?
10 years, 15 years, you would have heard. That's when you first would have heard about Long Tan.
Less, I reckon. That so a bit about that battle. And this movie was really impressive, right? Really, really sent shivers down my spine at some points. And I reckon that it should be, the classic Gallipoli movie with Mel Gibson. Peter Weir was the director, and I remember that because
Gallipoli, yes,
the classic Gallipoli film, right?
It was actually a really good film.
I remember it because we had to watch it at school. I think that this movie, Danger Close: The Battle of Long Tan, should be rated up there with that film and should be part of school curriculums. So this Battle of Long Tan was in a rubber tree plantation in somewhere in Vietnam. Australians against obviously the Viet Cong. So this Australian platoon were surrounded, basically. I think there were 108 Australians against a battalion of 2,000 Viet Cong, and they held them off over something like 24 hours. It was amazing, and it's an amazing story. You should really look it up. Yeah, 17 Australians died and 25 wounded. They were running out of ammo, sending coordinates to the artillery bombers, artillery landing, like 20, 30 meters away from them, because that's how close the enemy was. Just an incredible story. So 17 died, 25 wounded, and then one of those 25 died later on. So from his wounds, so 18 in total. And there's, it was a long forgotten battle, but I think that is probably the battle in Vietnam, which really symbolises, the struggle and the fight that the Australians were sent for. It was amazing. I'm pretty sure on Foxtel I've got a documentary series recorded about the Vietnam War. I haven't started it yet, but I want to get into that. And obviously, what I love about having Foxtel is that every Anzac Day or even D-Day, on like the History Channel or
Nat Geo,
National Geographic, they show these war documentaries, and I love those. I could spend like a whole day in front of the TV.
I find it fascinating how I look at it, especially World War II fascinates me, just how people's value of life has changed in 2 generations. Now, what I mean by that was my grandfather's was in the era of World War II, and how the Germans and the Russians and everyone whatever was treated, and the people were treated. How life was just nothing. They were just thrown in pits and shot and execution. It was just, and now you look 2 generations down, we would never fathom anything like that.
I was thinking about this yesterday, actually. Like, you look at society from then, and the hardships that people went through, and obviously people that went to war and the families that were left behind, people that lost, husbands and fathers in war, the resilience that these people had, right? That's a key characteristic, I think, of those times, resilience. And then what do we got today? Social media and influencers and all this bullshit, those people would look at current day society and just cringe, wouldn't they?
Yeah, it'd be different. It'd just be interesting to see that attitude. I mean,
how irrelevant. And you know what? This coronavirus pandemic, I think has really shown up social media and celebrity and this influencer culture and all that bullshit. It's really shown it up to be so irrelevant, you know?
It shows how weak-minded we are, more worried about toilet paper and start fights in shopping centres about toilet paper. Like, imagine what those people went through in 1944.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Imagine you're at home and you don't know if you're going to get bombed.
Yeah, and this is why I think, to me, Anzac Day is the most important day on the Australian calendar. I should have said that at the start. To me, much more important than Australia Day. To me, it basically is Australia Day. All right, and I'm not going to say anything about banning or cancelling Australia Day. No, I don't agree with that. But to me, Anzac Day is our national day, right? More than any other day. For all the reasons that we've discussed. It's it's a day to reflect on, Australia as a nation, what our values are, what we're all about.
And as a very young nation, and it fought in wars representing Britain prior to it was even formed as a nation. Well, the Australians were at the Boer War, which was in 1899.
There's another one. Yeah.
We don't know. I don't know a lot about that war either.
Do you have any family like that were involved in World War II back in Italy or anything like that?
Yeah, my grandfather was.
Do you know much about his time?
Well, he never spoke about it, to be honest.
Yeah, they didn't talk about it, eh?
They didn't talk about it all. I know he was a prisoner of war, so.
Yeah. My grandfather too, yeah.
I don't think that was too pleasant.
Yeah, so look, all I know about my nonno on my mum's dad is that he was in the war, obviously, in World War II for Italy, was captured by the Germans when Italy, Mussolini was killed and Italy, changed sides. So captured by the Germans, and because he could cut hair, I think he was the hairdresser in his in his company or whatever they call him. So he would cut the hair of the Germans. Yeah, jeez. so that I assume got him some favor or favoritism as a prisoner of war. But yeah, food was scarce, and I know that they had to eat anything that moved, basically.
Basically, it didn't matter what it was. Yes, I heard that as well.
That was a common thing, and so I grew up. My nonno passed away when I was 9, so I never got to an age where I could ask anything about things, his time and that kind of thing, because that would be fascinating for me. But what I remember is my mum telling me that as she was growing up, my nonno every now and then would sit in the front room of their house and play, I suppose you could call it the Italian version of The Last Post on the record player. So it was The Last Post, the bugle, but with like this music over it and this kind of Italian, like a voiceover, It's like an ode to his loved one back home. Is something that's from the artist. So he would sit there and listen to this sometimes, and just sit there and reflect with a glass of wine or something, knowing my nonno, and obviously it would be an emotional thing for him. I don't know how often he would do this, but my mum has told me that she would see her dad doing that sometimes. So just goes to show how war affects people for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, my great-grandfather fought in the First World War for Italy, obviously on the Allied side, because that's what the Italians were. And apparently he got some distinguished service medal or something, some really high award. Don't know what it was for.
Yeah.
I know the story. I should actually ask my great auntie to see what the story was.
Yeah.
So, but apparently he received some for valor or something, some really important medal.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
I remember my dad's uncle years ago before he passed away. So basically the only other relative on my dad's side who had moved over here. I remember him talking about when the war ended. So he was somewhere in the north of Italy, I think. I think he was involved with the partigiani, the partisans that were against the Italian involvement
with Germany
against the Germans. Yeah. But before Italy changed side. So I don't know the story, so I won't go into much detail. But I know that when the war ended, he had to walk back home, and my nonno, my dad's father, who lived all his life in Italy. But yeah, I don't know if they were together or because there's two brothers I'm talking about. Yeah, they both had to walk back home down to Sicily from the top of Italy. So, walk back home, I suppose, meaning, walking, catching, hitchhiking, who knows, make their way home however they could. And who knows however many months that took as well.
Yeah, one of my other uncles, my godfather, he was young. I think might have been in his either late or early teens, maybe, when the war was on in Venice, and he's got some pretty somber stories. Like you're at home and you could hear the planes coming and just dropping bombs. Absolutely, just. You didn't know if your house was next or the house next door would get blown up and you're hiding there in the basement. Yeah. Some of the stories he's got are pretty full on.
Yeah, amazing stuff. I mean, you like to bring up Normandy, but also there was a massive landing at Sicily as well.
Oh, yeah.
From Africa. I think would have been before Normandy or after?
Yeah, that was 43. It was 43,
wasn't it? Yeah. I think that was before Normandy. That was the biggest sea landing ever, I think, something like that.
And there was actually a great story. That the British actually fooled the Germans by throwing a body of I think he was a prisoner or something who had died of natural causes. So they made it look like he drowned with a colonel's uniform on or a general with a plan that they said they were going to invade somewhere else. So they wouldn't. I forgot the name of the actual operation. It was one of those were a great kept secret.
Yeah.
So that was something. I think they were going to invade. Like they said, the US and the Brits were going to invade via Salerno and in Napoli, as opposed to going through Sicily. So the Germans would think about them going all the way through.
Yeah. Right. So I think, there was a lot of that even with Normandy. A lot of they used to do fake radio broadcasts because they knew that they were going to be intercepted by the Germans.
Well, the great General Patton, the 4-star general, one of the probably greatest generals the US has ever had. He was in charge of setting up a fake army near Calais. So he had done it like fake blow up tanks and cars. So the Germans would reconnaissance and go, they're there.
Yeah, because they were flying, they were doing flights over the top and getting aerial shots and things like that. And so they would look down and think that they're seeing, rows of tanks and all this kind of thing. They were blow up balloons. How smart is that?
I mean, it wouldn't happen today.
Of course, I was going to say, it just shows what a different time it was. Hey, it's incredible.
Well, could you imagine if war happened today? It would be nothing like that one.
Well, that's what I was thinking watching the film last night about Long Tan. It's like, this hand-to-hand combat. It just, I mean, maybe you could say, Iraq and Afghanistan, there's a bit of that, but still not like a whole, what do they call them, battalions or companies or whatever,
Well, not like 300,000.
100 men versus 100 men type of thing, that's just a thing of the past.
Well, I think it's more strategic now.
Yeah, now it's, go out, from what I've seen of, things from Afghanistan, out on patrol with 10, 15 people type of thing. And, you're looking in houses and abandoned buildings, and it's quite different to, obviously, hand-to-hand combat in the jungle. That's for sure.
Actually, it's if you like Foxtel, if you got to watch this documentary called The Medal of Honor, I think it's called. It's either on Foxtel or Netflix, one of the two. And it goes through like 10 or 12 people, and it shows what they did, their citation to get. In Australia, how we have the VC, Victoria Cross, right? Yep. In the United States, it's the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's the equivalent of the VC. So that's, if you got that medal, even the president has to salute you. It's that level. And then it goes through like 12 or 14 people's citation on how they've got the Congressional Medal of Honor. Oh my God.
And some of the things that they did, yeah.
My God. Some of the stuff they did is, that's humanly not possible, and they done it. Like one bloke killing 50 people and it was amazing. Or even that movie, I think he received a Congressional Medal of Honor, was the one Mel Gibson, was a Hacksaw Ridge. I'm pretty sure he got one too.
The guy that was the medic.
Yeah, the medic. I think he got one as well.
Yeah, the medic that was bringing Hacksaw Ridge is an excellent movie. I like that. Yeah.
I haven't seen that. So.
Oh yeah. I think that's on Foxtel.
I still haven't seen Saving Private Ryan, to be honest with you. So.
What?
It's another one.
Have you not seen Saving Private Ryan is awesome.
Yeah,
and the reason why is because of the first 20 minutes. That scene is very, very real to life, apparently, according to people that were there at the landing. And if you're really into, the landing at Normandy, you've got to watch Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, I need, that's another one. I'm just getting through The Sopranos. So
of course.
I'm going to watch so much.
I forgot to ask you, where are you up to with The Sopranos?
So episode 5, season 1.
Oh, me too. Me too. I watched a couple the other night.
And I started watching last night the Jordan documentary, but I fell asleep halfway through.
The Last Dance.
That is actually really good,
fantastic. Man. That is really good. Listen, before we finish up on Anzac Day and wars and stuff, I was listening on the radio during the week to an interview with a Australian Victoria Cross winner, Kearney, I think his surname is. So he was over in Afghanistan, and what he did was he was leader of a particular group. They were out on a patrol, and they came under fire, and I think one of his mates got shot and killed, and another one wounded. And what he did is he ran away from them to draw fire away from all his team, and for about 3 hours he took this fire. Luckily, he didn't get himself killed, but he for about 3 hours he drew fire away from his team, and it's an amazing story. And he was awarded the Victorian Cross, which is the highest Australian.
I'd like to read citation on that one.
Yeah, brilliant. And I love reading those stories. And
some of them, honestly, some of those. There's actually, if you want to read one of an amazing decorated soldier in World War II, his name was Audie Murphy. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
Do yourself a favour. The most highly decorated American soldier of all time, Audie Murphy, Audie Murphy.
Okay.
Just even if you go on the YouTube now, just have a look at a photo of him and have a look at the amount of medals he has on his left side. And he became an actor after. He suffered from PTSD, tragic story. But he became an actor. He actually paid himself in a movie, and they had to tone it down because it was unbelievable for what he did to get his citation. He goes, "This is what happened." He goes, "Oh, no one will believe it."
Have you a couple good series to watch? Band of Brothers, if you like.
Yeah, I heard that's awesome.
You seen? Yeah, that's excellent.
No, I haven't seen everyone.
That starts with the Normandy landing, and then on from there, and all the battles that they.
Everyone talks about that though. They reckon it's really good. I haven't seen it.
Excellent series, and also the Pacific, which is about the Pacific War in Okinawa and these places. Amazing stuff. Amazing.
That was also, you got to take your hat off to the US Marines and a lot of the Australian soldiers that fought in Southeast Asia. I mean, those conditions would have been, just imagine the mugging. I'll go there on a holiday and you're dying of heat. Imagine you're carrying
the humidity, the bugs, the disease, even that they had.
The dysentery. Oh my God! Could you imagine what these guys did? And the Japanese were another level. They did not surrender.
One criticism, if I could have a criticism about that Danger Close Long Tan movie, is that there's nothing at all from the angle of the opposition, from the enemy, okay? Obviously the Viet Cong. So they are just not humanized whatsoever in this film. And basically what they could have done was just get one of them and just photocopy them, because they were just, never really a close-up of them. There's no speech. And there's absolutely nothing from their perspective.
They must have done it for a reason, just so.
Yeah, I think that was done on purpose. But I do like to see both sides of a story, if possible, in whether it's a documentary or a film. Very rarely in films there's the other side of the story. But yeah, just absolutely nothing at all. They were just not humanized at all. And look, Viet Cong were brutal, and seemed to have no fear of death. However, these blokes were human too.
But the Japanese were incredible. Like if they surrendered, they would commit suicide. They'll just die. I mean, who would run out of? Well, the example is a kamikaze pilot. I mean, oh my God, you're going to fly a plane into the USS Missouri knowing I'm going to die. I'm going to crash purposely into it. And actually, when I went on the USS Missouri, you can actually see there's still a dent on the side of the ship that was from a kamikaze plane. They never. I thought, oh my God, it's like incredible.
Where's that?
US Missouri is in Hawaii.
So it's
Pearl Harbor.
That's Pearl Harbor, yeah.
Yeah, I went to Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor was amazing. Amazing. And the ship, the USS Arizona, still bleeds oil.
Really?
Yeah, when did it get sunk? 1941, December 5th, I think it was. 1941. You can still see
an oil slick
coming from.
Wow.
I was like, wow, it was amazing. And then it's a very like, what word would I use? Yeah, you want to start crying. And at the end, I'm not an American, but you're just like, oh my God, these soldiers just picturing, you stand there and you're just picturing planes just coming over and bombing. You're in the ship, you're cleaning it, and all these ships get sunk, and it's just oh my God, it was amazing. And then obviously I went on the USS Missouri. I did the tour of the Missouri, and you stand in where Douglas MacArthur, the 5-star general, probably one of the great US generals of all time, where he signed the end of World War II. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I was standing on the spot where Douglas MacArthur signed. And I'm going to my wife, this is amazing. She's like, okay. She didn't have the same thing that I felt.
She's not into history. But one film that I remember watching is, if you want to see the enemy perspective, is Letters from Iwo Jima.
That's Clint Eastwood, wasn't it?
I think it might be, yeah. But I remember watching that. It was an excellent film. So I think the script was put together based on letters that I think a general or someone high-ranking in the Japanese army had written. So, yeah, very, very good film, that one.
And now there's another film I haven't seen. Have you ever read the story of Louis Zamperini?
No.
Yeah. Oh my God, you got to read that guy's story. They made the movie Unbroken about him. He was actually an Italian. His parents he's from Italy. He was born in the United States.
Oh, I haven't seen that film. Yeah.
Yeah, and he actually ran in the 1936 Olympics in Germany.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, he got drafted and he's fighting, and his plane went down. He was a pilot or something. His plane went down the middle of the Pacific, and he was out in the ocean for like 40 days or something. Something ridiculous.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. What a story.
I've got to watch that.
Yeah. And even if you read his story on Wikipedia, you go, oh my God. And he forgave and he was brutalized because he was a famous runner. Right. I think they took advantage. They brutalized him in the prisoner of war camps.
Right.
And he actually forgave all the Japanese because he found God or whatever he did.
Yeah. Here we are. Back to Letters from Iwo Jima. Directed by Clint Eastwood, starring Clint Eastwood, and the producer was Steven Spielberg.
Oh, wow. And
it's from 2006. Released in 2006, so it's not as old as I thought it was. But yeah. That's a good film.
You know, the Japanese, there was one bloke that was stuck in the jungles of the Philippines, I think it was, a Japanese, and it was in 1974. He never surrendered because he actually thought the war was still on.
Wow. Hang on, from World War II?
From World War II. He was an old man, the last person. Actually, you can read it on Wikipedia. I was like, oh my, in the early 70s or something. Wow. It was like 30 years after the war. They had to tell him, no, the war's finished. The war's over. The war's been over for 30 years. And he's like, what do you mean?
He was waiting for the enemy.
That's how much dedication this guy had.
Yeah.
That's how much indoctrination the Japanese had.
Well, that's a good word for it, indoctrination. Yeah.
Yeah. So them, Emperor Hirohito, do you actually, I don't know, I was a young kid, but I do remember this specifically because I used to watch the news. I think it was 1989 when Emperor Hirohito died. Do you remember that?
No.
It was a big controversy because at the time, because he was emperor it was a, what's the word, the position. It wasn't a position of power. It was more of a position of, like the Governor General, doesn't really do nothing. It's more of a
symbolic.
Symbolic, that's the word, symbolic position. And when he died, that everyone was up in arms because they didn't put the flags at half-mast.
In Japan?
No, in Japan they did, but there are other countries didn't. Like the US didn't. Oh. And there was a big controversy, I remember that. And the US had gone, why on earth would I put the flag at half-mast? He's the one who declared war on us. He's the one who sent the bomb out.
Right.
So...
Yeah. Well, and then you look at the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And there's I think that from what I know, absolutely not needed because Japan was on their knees already and on the verge of surrendering. But I think the US wanted to send a message to the rest of the world, well, to Russia maybe.
Well, there's a couple stories about that. They said, obviously, one, the US did because they were preparing for a land invasion of Tokyo. That's what they were preparing for.
Right.
The US which
would have cost how many thousands of lives?
They estimated if the way the things were, that up to 1 million US soldiers' lives would have been lost. And the US goes, we're not prepared to sacrifice that.
Yeah.
The second thing was, at that time, because the war finished in Europe, Stalin was going, okay, I'm going to go send my troops on the other side to invade Japan because he obviously wanted a bit of Japanese turf as well. So they reckon Stalin was mobilizing to attack Japan from the north, going down. And the Yankees didn't want that to happen because then they would have spread communism even more. That's why they had to okay, we're going to make a decision, get this done real quick. We've got to finish this real fast. So, yeah, that's one story. Because if Stalin entered the war, that thing would have made things very interesting for the Japanese.
But it's interesting that after doing the initial bomb on Hiroshima was first or Nagasaki?
Hiroshima was first.
Okay. All right. Let's say that they had reason for the first time.
The little boy bomb. It was called the little boy, and the plane was the Enola Gay. The Enola Gay.
Which was named after someone's mum, mother. One of the planner's mother or something, or one of the bomber's mother or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, you think that after the first one was dropped, was the second one needed? Was the first one? They
hadn't actually...
Because they didn't surrender right away.
They didn't surrender right away.
Man.
They didn't. Yeah, that's the thing. They didn't surrender right away.
Yeah.
So if they surrendered right away, they probably would have. They probably would have wrapped it up. You know what I mean?
How's that incident in Melbourne, the Eastern Freeway in Melbourne?
Tragic. How much of a scumbag must that guy have been to take photos and run off? I mean, seriously.
God.
What sense of humanity do you have? These people, whether you've been inducted, man, he's forever going to have, the world's going to hate him for the rest of his life.
And rightly so.
And so they should.
But what I was going to say is, do you think that he's going to see much jail time?
Well, technically, it's not his fault that they died.
This is where I'm going. So he's got a string of charges against him, drug charges, traffic charges, failing to render assistance obviously is probably the big one, right? However, with all the charges against him, leaving the scene of the crime, with all the charges added up against him, what's he going to get? 1-2 years at the most?
3 years? We don't know. I don't know. We don't know. The judge might make an example and further.
Hopefully, but my inkling is that he's not going to get much.
He'll get something.
Hope I'm wrong, but he's just the scum of the earth.
I think the judge will probably want to make an example of it.
I hope so, but at the end of the day, this is Victoria.
True.
Victoria is a very different state. In recent times,
very green. Bring back Jeff. That's what I say to Victoria.
Yeah.
But as a person, as a human, he must be like the scum. he must be the absolute scum of a man.
Oh, totally. I mean, I think, from what, he's been in the media accused of ripping people off with his mortgage broking business and all kind of things. Just an absolute nightmare.
What's run off? I mean, I'm not sure. Do you reckon that guy might have had an accident, a medical episode before?
The truck driver?
The truck in?
Well, I don't know. I think they're still investigating. But there's
what they're also saying is a few people saying is because when a Victorian police officer pulls you over and flashes the lights, you have to slow down to 40 kilometres an hour. So what they're saying was they pulled him over, put the lights on, and everyone, they're doing 100 and they got to slow to 40. So you got a truck and you're doing 100. I mean, you got to slow it to 40.
They were pulled over in the emergency lane though. I think the truck has veered into the emergency lane.
But as a truck, you look at a lot of truck accidents when they got to slam the eggs on. I mean, you got a 30, 40 ton there to pull it up. It's not easy. So that could have been a situation as well. They're saying, well, maybe we don't know because the guy's still.
I think there's also speculation that the truck driver might have been on drugs as well. You didn't hear that?
No, I didn't hear that.
I don't know if it's confirmed, but I think there's some speculation about it. So I don't know. Who knows?
They raided his house. Why would you raid his house?
The truck driver.
Yeah.
Maybe they found some drug paraphernalia or something. I don't know. Anyway, it's just a sickening incident all around. Man.
Well, the subject on Victoria Police, did you watch Informer 3838?
No, I didn't.
Interesting.
I saw the ads for it. So is this like just a TV movie?
TV movie based on the roots, based on that lady.
The Lawyer X.
Yeah, Lawyer X, Gobbo. Oh, my God. That is absolutely... And the thing of law, oh, my God, that is horrible. Absolutely horrible.
I don't know a lot about the story, to be honest, because I never watched the Lawyer X series that was on Sky.
Well, she played both sides of the fence.
Yes, I know that much. That's about it.
Yeah, but that's... Like her duties to the court, that is the biggest no-no in history.
So a lot of people are getting out of jail basically because they're
under false pretenses.
Exactly. The evidence against them is compromised and things like that.
It's all tainted,
yeah.
And Victoria Police should have known better. They're like, that's what there's a Royal Commission involved. It's like Victoria Police, you are going know well and fine, all well and good that this evidence is compromised. So all these guys are going to walk free. So right now, there could be a massive court cost compensation. Oh, you think about that guy who died. What's his name there? Carl Williams.
Yeah.
Well, she was representing him too, wasn't she?
Okay.
He's dead now. The fact that he's in jail.
Yeah, right.
was because of what she did. He got murdered in jail.
So is his sentencing under investigation?
They're all on. Tony Mockerbell just got beaten up. You're talking... This is going to be Victoria Police have got a big problem.
So all this investigation is all still ongoing and everything?
So it's still ongoing, I think, as far as I can know.
But these documentaries and TV movies are coming out about it. How's that work?
Well, no, the investigation, the Royal Commission's separate. So I knew she was obviously doing it. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Have you seen on Instagram, I don't know if it's Instagram and TikTok. Obviously, we don't have TikTok and no interest in it. But all these AFL coaches are doing these dances with their kids and stuff. Have you seen this?
Yes, I have.
It's driving me insane.
Yes, it is.
So far, I've seen John Worsfold, Nathan Buckley, Damien Hardwick.
Yep.
I can't think of any others. But off the top of my head, those three have been on social media doing these dances, at home with their kids. This TikTok
must have dances. Nothing else to do, mate. Nothing else to do.
I swear, if Adam Simpson does it, I'm handing in my Eagles membership. It's driving me nuts. It's so ridiculous.
But he's been dead too, so what are you supposed to do?
Are they raising money for charity? If they're raising money for charity of some sort, I'll let him have it. But they can get away with it. But if it's just because they're bored at home with nothing to do, I'm sorry. Your estimations in my mind have decreased. Anyway, The Last Dance. You said that you watched it. Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I started getting into that. It was pretty good, actually.
I'm I'm just spewing that they didn't drop all episodes all at once like they normally do with Netflix, because I probably would have watched all 10 by now. I think there's going to be 10 episodes. So there's only been 2 so far. And have you watched all of the first 2?
No, I've only got halfway through the first one. I haven't seen the whole lot yet.
Oh, it's brilliant, man.
Well, they talk about Jerry Krause. There's no love lost.
So he's the kind of the villain. Is he like general manager of the team or something?
Yeah, he's the GM, yeah.
So basically he puts the team together, recruits the players and puts them together, and and I think he's a bit good guy, a bit bad guy, because I've been listening to some interviews with the director as well.
He wasn't a bad guy.
That's right. So the director's been doing a podcast after each. It's those ESPN 30 for 30 podcasts. So after each episode, he and some other guys do a podcast talking about the episode, and he said, he's set up as the villain, but in later episodes, the good comes out of him as well. So he's not all asshole. But so after I won't go into the second episode really much because you haven't seen it yet. But the second episode is all about Scottie Pippen and his role, and so Scottie Pippen signed a 7-year deal for $18 million.
Yeah, he got shafted.
Right?
Shafted.
Well, it was his choice. He could have signed a shorter term contract, but because he had a big family and they were poor, he just wanted to lock in the security. Obviously, with $18 million over 7 years, you're still secure. However, we're talking about probably the second best player in the NBA after Michael Jordan at the time.
I wouldn't say that far, but it was pretty good. Well, you had a kick, mate. Back then, you had some quality players.
Okay. All right, you had Larry Bird. All right.
Well, no, Larry Bird by that stage was gone. Magic was gone, but you had.
Were they? Okay.
Shaq, by that stage, you had.
At the start of Jordan's career, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were still around. And here I am talking like I know anything about the NBA. I don't.
Up until they were there until 92. And then actually Magic came back in 95. He did a one-season stint, but by that stage it was all over anyway.
So he was the 122nd highest paid player in the NBA, Scottie Pippen. And for his talent, that is like way down. And they wouldn't renegotiate his contract. So anyway, watch the second episode. It's bloody interesting. So far, I'm just enthralled in this series. It's fantastic. And look, I reckon no doubt they'll eventually do one on Kobe Bryant. I see a lot of similarities with Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant totally based his whole gameplay off Michael Jordan. There's actually a YouTube video.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, but there's actually a YouTube video. If you watch it, it is actually scary. It's like the jump shot, the fade away, the threat. And it's like Jordan does it, Kobe does it. Jordan does it, Kobe.
It makes me want to get into basketball watching these things. I tell you,
Honestly, but if you get a chance, just Google search that Jordan and Kobe similarities. You'll be like, oh my God, he's actually like mimicked him to a T, which is obviously the highest form of compliment.
Yeah, but hey, if you're going to copy someone, copy the best. Makes sense. I've got no qualms with that.
I did like how it started off and it showed Jordan, and he goes, he wanted to be the best, and he goes, you got to keep working at it. Yeah, that was pretty good when he was in North Carolina.
Yeah, so he scored the game winning shot to win the championship for North Carolina, and apparently he wasn't even the best player in the team at the time.
Yeah, at the time, and the guy, he goes, well, I want to be the best. So he goes, you got to keep practicing.
Yeah,
and he did.
And how when he was drafted by the Bulls. No, well, he was drafted by.
Yeah, no, right? I was drafted by Chicago. Chicago.
He was. Who was it who was drafted by someone else and then traded? It might be Pippen.
That Kobe Bryant was.
No. He was. Yeah, that was Charlotte Hornets, I think.
Yeah,
and then traded to the Lakers. That was a set-up deal. Same thing with Scottie Pippen. I think he was drafted by. Who was it? So drafted by someone else, but it was a deal with Chicago, a draft trade.
You reckon the Portland Trailblazers are kicking themselves with probably the worst number 2 pick in the history of the NBA draft? Sam Bowie.
Who's that?
Exactly, that's my point, Sam.
What year are we talking about here?
84, or when he got drafted, when Michael got drafted. First player was Hakeem Olajuwon. First was Hakeem Olajuwon, which was obviously an NBA Hall of Famer, gold medalist, championship player, and will go down as one of the greats, top 20 of all time. I probably can.
Well, even Michael Jordan's, I think it's Michael Jordan's agent or manager said if it was his choice, he wouldn't have even drafted Jordan at 1. He would have been Olajuwon. So yeah.
Yeah, no, they said Olajuwon was the one. But number 2 was the Portland Trailblazers. And Portland Trailblazers drafted a bloke called Sam Bowie. And you're like, oh my God, what happened to Sam Bowie? Apparently he wasn't a bad player, but he was riddled with injuries. But they go, we got Clyde Drexler, so we don't need Michael Jordan. I'm not saying Clyde Drexler's, but you know, he also will be a top 50 player of all time. But yeah,
I'm hoping that Luke Longley's going to have a bit of a run in this series, because you've so far in episode 1 and 2, you've only just seen a few glimpses of him here and there. But yeah, Fremantle number 1 ticket holder, Luke Longley. I'm
sure that he would have some interesting stories, and it's quite funny, like the stories that Michael was saying, like when that he went to the team in where they were out and they knocked on the door in.
So when he was first drafted, the team were a bunch of cokeheads, and he walks into a hotel room I think it must have been an away trip. Walks into a hotel room. There's lines of coke in one corner. There's alcohol, weed, and people getting drunk, and another corner with whoever was with probably prostitutes and that, and he didn't want to know about it.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, pretty impressive.
So basically, Chicago Bulls were a nothing team when he got drafted.
They were. That was said before he got drafted that they were getting outsold by the Chicago Sting, which is an indoor soccer team.
That's right.
The Chicago Sting.
So what are Chicago Bulls like these days?
Oh, they're mid-tier. They're not. I think they're
an average team again.
Right now, the NBA is all about LeBron James, King LeBron, and it will go down in history. You're going to say who was the best player, LeBron James or Michael Jordan? If you talk to kids of a younger generation,
LeBron even more so than Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember there was, after Kobe Bryant died, I was watching all these YouTube clips on him and stuff. There was one game, where was LeBron? He was either at Cleveland or Miami. I can't remember which team. But Kobe just towed him up. Just took him apart.
Yeah, but it will go down in history. The argument's going to be who was the best player, Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
Where does Kobe Bryant come into this conversation?
I'd probably be in the top 10.
Is that all?
Mate, there's some fantastic NBA players of all time. Oh, where do you start? Magic Johnson, Larry Bird.
Okay, hang on. LeBron, obviously I haven't watched enough of LeBron James to know enough, but LeBron James just looks like too big. He's not agile enough. Look at Michael Jordan. Look at Michael Jordan, man. These clips of Michael Jordan, he's unbelievable. I thought Kobe was amazing, right, watching Kobe, but you look at Michael Jordan, he's a couple steps above.
Mate, I tell you now, he's quality. He's quality. Yeah, Kobe, top 4. Yeah, maybe, probably could be a 3 maybe. I don't know. Tough one. I mean, look, I'm no basketball, so I'm only going from what I've seen. I used to watch it back in the younger days when Jordan was playing, obviously. And to me, Jordan's still the best player of all time. And there was a documentary on YouTube, and it goes through who votes, who's your favourite player, and they ask all past players. And majority said, out of 20 players, I think 10 said Michael. I think LeBron got about 3 or 4. Some said some other players like Wilt Chamberlain and all these other, Bill Russell and all these other players. But again, no, I can't comment on those guys. I wouldn't have the faintest about those guys. Yeah. But Stephen Curry now has revolutionised the whole 3-point game. Look at these guys now. These guys are pinning 3-pointers like it's...
Well, yeah, Curry shoots them from just inside halfway sometimes.
Yeah, and he pins them. That's what I'm saying. These guys that's what they're doing now. They just practice streets. These guys can pin a 3 from anywhere. It's amazing how the game's changed. And the question is always going to be, is the USA Dream Team 92 the best team of all time?
So who was in that?
In that team, you had Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Patrick Ewing, Karl Malone, Clyde Drexler, David Robinson, Chris Mullen, John Stockton, and Christian Leitner.
I can't believe you know all those off the top of your head.
Yeah, what a team. What a team. What a team.
Was it Yugoslavia they beat in the final?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it was actually. And that was with that was Vladi. It was who's the guy who played? He died actually in a car accident not long after that. Not Tony Kukoc. What was his name? Dražen Petrovic.
He was the star for Yugoslavia.
So yeah, then he died in a car accident.
Oh, really? Okay.
He played for New Jersey Nets, and he died in a car accident. Pretty sure.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it was a great team, man. And Charles Barkley was in there too. I don't forget Charles.
Yep. Who did he play for? Phoenix Suns?
At that stage, he was Phoenix Suns. Before then, he played for the Philadelphia 76ers.
Okay, so I do know the odd little fact here and there.
Yeah, he was a good player. And who else was in that team? That's pretty much it. Christian Leitner was the one NCCA representative. All the other players are Hall of Famers. He'll never be a Hall of Famer, poor guy.
What's NCCA? What's that?
The college basketball.
He was a college player at the time.
Yeah, Christian Leitner was a college player. I think part of the deal was they were allowed to have pros, but they had to have one college player. Oh, Scottie Pippen was in there as well.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, Scottie. I got to forget Scottie Pippen.
What a team! Oh my God.
Oh mate, so the rest of
did they just walk it home or what?
Oh yeah, they smashed it.
On FIFA's YouTube channel, they've been putting like old World Cup games on and stuff. Awesome. So yesterday I was watching Italy versus Nigeria from 1994.
Oh, 2-1.
2-1, yeah, very lucky, but one of the worst performances I remember Italy having. But also got to say that the heat in America. This was a middle of the day, middle of summer match.
Really surprised that the FIFA would have played that whole tournament in summer, 40 degrees in the southern. It was in California where they played it.
Well, I can't remember exactly where that game was, but yeah,
in the middle of
the reason for the kickoff times was for European TV time. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, but the European market now, if you look at the rest of the world, is it that big still?
In 1994, we're talking about.
Yeah, okay, but was it bigger than the South American market?
European, of course.
Yeah, look at the population. We're talking population here.
Who can afford TV? All right. European TV rights. Don't worry about what the consumer can afford. It's what the media companies have bought.
Yes, no, I apologise. I'll take it back. TV rights, I'm thinking of viewers. I'm talking of people watching the game.
Yeah.
Actually, the amount of people watching as opposed to TV rights. Yes, you're right. And the TV rights,
big media companies. It's all for the big media companies in Europe.
Correct. I stand corrected.
So, Italy's match against Nigeria in the second round and I suppose the semi-final, I remember being a hot afternoon, and the final was hot. The final was absolutely ridiculous, like 40 degrees.
It was a 38 or 40 degrees.
Yeah, something like that. How can you play football in the middle of the day when you got 38 to 40 degree heat? Mate, you wonder why Budgel put the ball over the bar? He couldn't see it.
It was, speaking of from the vault, last night, Channel 7 had the AFL from the vault.
Oh, what'd they show?
Oh, what a game. The Eagles versus Port Adelaide elimination final 2017.
Oh, when Shuey scores the winning goal after siren. I saw that a week ago.
Oh, what a game.
They showed it again.
It was on again. What a game.
Yeah.
What a game.
It went into, it was in extra time.
Let me tell you a story of that game.
Yeah.
I was in China at that time, and it was me, my brother, and another mate of mine. We were there, Adam, and we're there, and we're watching. My mate Adam, he doesn't really care about football, so he didn't really give a shit. But my brother was like, "Come on, let's go to the pub, watch it." I was like, "Nah, I can't. I got to watch it by myself. I got to go to final. I can't deal with it too well, especially if we lose." Anyway, long story short, he's harping, and he's like, "Stuff you, this and that." So he watched it in his room, and I was in my room, and I was watching it on the phone. Yeah, on the phone, I think. No, actually, no. I was in the lobby. He was in his room because we shared the room. That's right. He was in the room and I was in the lobby. So I thought I was going to have a drink while I was watching the game. And that was it. And I'll go to the extra and I was dying. I can't watch this, right? And then when they kicked the 2 goals, all right, Port Adelaide got in the extra time. I thought, that's it, it's all over. I'm finished, that's it, done. Turned it off and I thought, stuff this. And I was in the middle of Shanghai and I went for a walk.
So you missed the end.
I missed the end.
You know what? This is typical of you. I'm not even surprised. And I'm not surprised that I find out 3 years later.
And my brother comes and then he comes, I was like, because I was cursing, right? I'm like, bastard, this and that. I was like devastated. I walk off and I'm like, yeah, the shop, I bought a chocolate milk or whatever it was I bought, come back and I go back to my room and my brother comes and he starts punching me. Yeah. He was like, he goes, you're a dickhead, you dickhead. You don't understand. I said, what? He goes, what did the Eagles win? He goes, yeah, we won after the siren. I was like, oh my God, what an idiot.
Come on. Oh, it just hurts me to hear that, man.
Oh my God.
I was jumping off my couch doing Rambo rolls on the floor. I was just going mental.
Yeah, but it's not good for my health. You don't understand. My heart, it's not good for my heart. I can't deal with this. I can't deal with that. But my heart was thumping at 100 miles an hour going, oh, this is not good. Getting heart palpitations.
Well, it's bloody lucky that you didn't, that you left Germany early when we were at the World Cup. Didn't stay for the semi and the final, because I don't know how you would have handled those 2 games.
I reckon the semi I wouldn't have handled well.
Oh, it was nerves, mate.
The final, yeah.
I mean, but also the final. Imagine the penalty shootout. You want to talk about nerves? Oh my God!
And I was a bit more confident with the penalty shootout. Yeah, I was a little bit confident.
Not that I was not confident, but it's a World Cup final penalty shootout. I was shitting bricks.
Because it's about statistics. Statistically, you can't keep losing. Something's got to flip. You know what I mean? You look at history. You can't keep 94. Where was the other one where we got done?
90, 94, 98.
The Euros? Wasn't it the Euros?
They won the Euro 2000 semi-final on penalties.
Yeah.
Against Netherlands.
That's why we lost after that one when Trezeguet scored, wasn't it?
Oh, that was the golden goal. Yeah, in the final. Yeah. Oops, just bang the microphone there. Yeah. Oh, anyway, just quickly back to that Italy versus Nigeria game. So, mate, diabolical. Italy could barely string 2 passes together, right? They were dead on their feet. Zola gets sent off with about 10, 12 minutes left.
That was a crock, wasn't it?
Absolute joke, right?
It was a joke, yeah.
Absolute joke. Possibly a free kick, maybe, if the referee wants to be harsh. Not even a yellow card for it, but right. Go back and watch it. It's just incredible that he got sent off. And then they just get that, Budgell just slots that goal. 2 minutes remaining. I remember the commentary. 2 minutes remaining. Roberto Baggio saves Italy's World Cup campaign. That's exactly what he did. And then in extra time, it was all Italy. Nigeria may as well not have bothered playing. Up until the last 5 minutes of the 90, before Italy scored the equaliser, you should say in Nigeria was just trying to do all these fancy step overs and dummies and all this. They were trying to be smart asses. The naivety, man. They played
Italy-Spain? Was it Italy-Spain round of 16? That wasn't it?
Yeah.
After that?
Next was Spain. Again, Baggio scores the winning goal in the last couple of minutes.
Didn't Baggio score a cracker, that one?
Dino Baggio first, the long range shot. Yep. And then Roberto Baggio scored the winner.
I think I watched that. But I was working with my Uncle Charlie back then. I think I watched that at Cafe Sport in Northbridge.
Cafe Sport, wow.
Yeah, well, it's gone back a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And we're jumping up and down. That was how long ago?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Then the semi-final against Bulgaria, it was pretty much over by halftime. 2-0, Baggio scored two goals. Actually, that first half of the semi-final against Bulgaria, Italy played just out of their skin. Absolutely champagne football. Albertini in the middle of midfield was just controlling. He had the ball on the string, just sending through ball after through ball over the top of the defence, and Baggio put 2 of them away. Just brilliant. And then the final was, again, Italy it was a non-event, that final, for both teams. Both teams were just...
Everyone was banging on. I remember back then, Romario this, Romario that, Romario. Like,
Baggio should not have started, unfortunately, because he pulled his hammy in the semi-final. But they strapped him up and he played and he could barely move in the final. Zola was available and should have started in his place.
Franco Baresi did come back from a knee recon, remember?
That's right.
After 40 days? No, how long was it? Not even.
Who was it against? Was it the second game against Norway?
It was the first game. It was the first game.
You sure?
I'm sure it was the first game.
Just trying to remember. I thought it was the second game against Norway that he got injured.
I don't know. Well, don't quote me on it. I thought it was the first game. But there was like a full knee recon. Didn't he have like a full operation?
No, I think it was like an arthroscopy, so the meniscus. So normally you need 6 to 8 weeks to come back from that.
Yeah. And what did he do it in 20 days?
Something like that, 20, 23 days or something, yeah.
What a beast of a man.
And he played the game of his life in that final. He had won the World Cup in 82, but I think he was just a squad player. I don't think he even played a minute.
Was he in the 82 team? I don't think he was. He
was in the squad.
Was he? Yeah. I knew Bergomi was.
And also Bergomi and Massaro, Daniele Massaro.
I was there too. Oh, shit.
Yeah. Bergomi wasn't there in 94.
No, he was there in 90. He was there in 90.
90, he was the captain. And then they called him back for 98 because he had an amazing season. And maybe someone was injured, but they called him back for 98 and he did all right. Yeah. I got to tell you that game against Ireland, the first game, I just remember that it was at Giant Stadium in New York, and I don't think I've ever watched much of it again. I remember Ray Houghton was the Irish guy who scored the winning goal. Greatest moment of his life.
Could you imagine the atmosphere in New York between the Irish and the Italians?
Oh yeah,
they're the two biggest ethnicities in that town.
Well, I went to Italy against Ireland in Euro 2012 in Poland, in Poznan was the city, and I've got to tell you, at the time of my life, the Irish, mate, they know how to party. It's all just a party for them.
Yeah, good on them. I like the Irish.
I was on the tram from the centre of the city, had to catch the tram out to the stadium, and I was the only Italian fan. I had Italian shirt, I had Italian flag, around me, and every single person was, with the green Irish shirt, and they were just dancing and singing, and I was enjoying it, man. I was getting along with these guys. At the end of the day, I'm an Aussie, so I could talk to them. But it was brilliant. Yeah, I was having a ball. I'm taking photos with them and stuff. They were fantastic. Brilliant fans. Just there for a big piss up.
Oh, well, they've never had much success internationally in anything, really.
Some of their chants and their songs were just fucking hilarious. Yeah. That was a good time.
That was a good. That would have been a good experience. That one, son. On there.
Oh, Poland was awesome. I loved Poland. Being there. But I went to all the Euro 2012 matches except Italy's, except for the quarterfinal against England. I missed that one, which was a cracker of a match. That was where Pirlo did the little Panenka penalty kick. Yes. Oh, speaking of World Cup games on FIFA's YouTube channel, I think this morning they played, because they're doing it like a live stream type of thing. So this morning was the 2006 World Cup semi, Italy against Germany. So
that's cracker.
If you want to watch that, it's on FIFA's YouTube channel from today.
Oh, okay, too good. I watched the last 2 minutes. It's the best.
But that was a cracker of a match. It was just end-to-end stuff, man. That was brilliant.
They hit the post a couple of times.
The start of extra time, Italy hit the post twice and then scored 2 at the end of extra time.
That's right. Talk about isolation with the coronavirus, but I think we've done pretty well with keeping away from coronavirus. So. Not talking about it.
Oh, that's right. You sent me the story about Kerry Stokes.
Yes.
Please, have the floor.
I just said there's obviously it's two systems in this country, isn't it?
Well, firstly, for anyone listening, in case, our 2 greatest fans are listening, explain the story and then get into it.
Mr. Stokes, he's apparently a very nice man. I'm not going to take it away from him.
Yeah, he donates a lot of money to charity.
Donates a hell of a lot of money. He's a billionaire, multi-billionaire. And in Western Australia, our Premier decides to put in lockdowns that anyone comes in from overseas or interstate has to go into a mandatory quarantine in a hotel for 2 weeks. But those rules don't apply if you're a billionaire because you get to get exempt from that and go home. Because Mr. Stokes was skiing in Aspen. Or was in Aspen at his holiday home in Colorado. Whether he was skiing or not, we don't know. But there's not much else to do in Aspen, is there?
So instead of going into the mandated hotel stay, he's been allowed to go home.
Yes. That wouldn't happen to me or you.
So it's the old...
do as I say, not as I do.
Some people are more equal than others.
That's right.
We're all equal, but some are more equal than others. From the old Animal Farm book, which we had to read in Year 11 English.
Which I didn't read because I just got all the answers off you.
Were we in the same class?
Yes, I think we were.
Okay. Yeah. What can you say? What can you say? If you put it this way, if you've got the opportunity to get out of it and it's going to be cleared, you're going to go. You're going to get out of it. It's not a good look, but
bit divided because part of me's gone, so what? Save the taxpayer money. We don't have to fork out for, even though he's got plenty, but we don't have to fork out for it. But the other thing is, what makes him doesn't have to do it? But if it was me, I'd have to do it.
Why did he come home late anyway in the first place?
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. That is exactly right. Why? I mean, he knew just as well as everyone else did. He had a private jet. He'd come home whenever he wanted.
Oh, he came back on a private jet.
Yeah, well, he owns one, so...
Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised. Far from surprised.
I mean, this could have been Kerry Stokes, Gina Reinhart, or pick any other, Australian billionaire.
Could have been Mr. Packer. Could have been any of them. Frank Lowry or Frank Lowy, whatever his name is. Anthony Pratt. You name all the top, all of them. All would have done it.
It would have happened for any of them. At the end of the day, money talks, mate.
That's it. And the police commissioner gives him special dispensation. I just find it hard. Yeah, and part of me is like, find it frustrating because the guy couldn't go see his wife who was dying. This one we brought up a couple of weeks ago.
That's
his
right.
wife was dying. So that guy couldn't do that. So that law's going to be twisted or bent for that one. But for a guy flying in, it's no problem. And it wasn't if he was flying from, and another thing, so it wasn't if he was flying in from New Zealand or Fiji or somewhere where there's no cases of it or minimal cases. He's flying in from America, the hottest, the epicenter of the whole virus.
When you contrast it with that story about that, that guy that was in lockdown in a hotel and his wife dying in the hospital and he couldn't go and the family couldn't see their mother, and that makes you spew. That's just sickening. That's
what part of me is going like, well, hang on a minute. So it's right to break the rules for this guy, but not for anyone else. And hence why I get frustrated when people say, "Oh, but this is
we are cattle, mate."
That's all we are.
That's it, and this just shows it. So yeah, Kerry Stokes, you donate your 1-2 million every year to Telethon, but you're more equal than us.
And look, good on him. I mean, I got to take my hat off. I would have tried the same too if I was in issues. I mean, you would have done the same. True. We all would have.
Of course.
Yeah,
of course. So who would want to spend 2 weeks in a hotel room, not even allowed to walk out the door into the corridor? You'd go insane.
Yeah, mental.
Just with boredom, not literally, but you'd just be bored. But yeah.
Hence my point of why I think a little bit frustrated with the whole government and the lockdown and where us West Australians, we've been, the government, I know it hasn't really annoyed me, really grinding my gears was when the police commissioner or the premier, one of the two said, because the West Australians have behaved so well, we're lifting the restriction on alcohol. I'm like, what am I, 2 years old?
So there's no restriction. Yes.
There's still a restriction, right? So they've increased it from 1 carton to 2 cartons, right? But because we behaved so well, and I was like, that's actually insulting. Behave. What am I, 2 years old? What am I? Yes, mister. Yes, sir. Yes.
We've been good little subjects.
Yes, good little boys. Oh, hang on a goddamn minute. I couldn't help. I was like, whoa, that's bloody insulting, eh? That is very insulting.
My uncle in Germany sent me a message a week or so ago, and he said this whole thing has just been a whole great big piss take. And it is. It is.
You know, and the thing is, this is another thing I find frustrating, right? You got numbers now. The numbers are next. ICU's at 3%.
76 yes, this is yesterday. 76 cases in WA, active cases.
Yeah, 76 cases, 2. So in the past week, we've had 2 or 3 cases of people off the boat, new case off the boat or whatever they were. I'm like, okay. So when we'll think about slowly releasing restrictions, I'm like, do you understand? People are going to lose their houses. And it's these people making decisions, which I'm finding very frustrating, is that they're all in public service. They're going to have a job.
They keep talking about this potential second wave coming, right? So that's, you know, why the restrictions still have to stay in place. And, you know, they're talking about 6 months. I don't know whether that's 6 months in total or 6 months to go. In 6 months, we'll have 0 cases here, unless there's this second wave. But there's only going to be a second wave. I don't know. Why would there be a second wave if you let those if you let those active cases out on the town? I don't know.
If you're controlling those active cases, what second wave are you going to have? I don't know.
I don't know. Our logic tells me that we've been self-isolating long enough that anyone who's got it but don't know they've got it, the symptoms would have showed by now. You know what I mean? The incubation period is well and truly past.
Oh no, the thing is, it's like people, the government, you are all these people dictating, every single one of them, in 6 months, in 12 months is going to have a job. The house isn't going to be taken away from them. They're still going to have they're still going to earn their cushy money. It's the people who own the restaurants, who own retail, who got trades, and all these people who that's it. What am I going to do? I haven't got money. I can't rely on anything. Now, what about all these landlords? Oh, my God, all these landlords that people can't pay rent. All these businesses. Imagine if you had a restaurant. If you're a landlord of a restaurant at the moment, what would you be doing?
You'd be, if you're a landlord. But if you're a restaurateur, you would be trying to do takeaways. And that's about it.
But realistically, that's not how much takeaway are you going to have. That's not part of you. Like, okay, you're telling me a fine dining restaurant is going to do takeaway. And what are you going to do? Takeaway? Yeah, you're going to put it in a box.
The local cafe can probably...
The local cafe. But even that, at the end of the day, how many takeaways you have to do? How many takeaways you have to do to turn over that profit, to turn over money, to make money?
I think that what restaurants should be doing is getting ads on social media, right? Social media is ballistic. Everyone's, you know, if you got nothing to do, what do? You sit on your phone. You're playing with social media or whatever. Get ads on there so that you're getting in front of eyeballs and you're offering, you know, Uber Eats services to send meals home. What else can you do? I don't know.
But even me, stay home. I don't know what to take out anymore. I don't know. What's the point? I don't get it delivered. I don't waste my time. What am I going to do?
Yeah, well, that's you. I mean, you know, you've got...
Just stay home and have cook a steak or cook a sausage or whatever.
Some people are lazy and they won't. Some people are going to order it.
Yeah, but those people are going to always order it anyway. You're not gaining new business. I don't think you're gaining new business personally.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what stats are like with businesses that are doing it, but
and this is the frustration I have with government making all these decisions. All these people making decisions are going to have jobs. The police commissioner is going to have a job. The CMO is going to have a job.
Yeah, everything that's
all these politicians are going to have a job. Yeah. The public sector, all these people in public sector are going to have a job. It's your other people that aren't going to have a job. They're the ones that's going to be hurting. They're the ones that are going to have the mental health issues. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
And you're keeping them cooped up. Oh no, we got to maintain because we got to flatten the curve, mate. Come on.
I loved it wasn't during the week, but it was a while ago that the ABC's Chief Economics Correspondent tweeted out this, and I'll read it to you. So Emma Alberici, remember, she's the Chief Economics.
She has got a bachelor's degree in economics, but
doesn't mean much, mate. Read this. Chief Economics Correspondent. People around the world are dying alone. Stop talking about the economy. We live in a community, not an economy. Go knock on your neighbour's door and ask if they need help, look after each other, and learn a lesson from Italy. Choose love over hate. Stay inside, only go out if you must. Okay. The Chief Economics Correspondent of the publicly funded ABC media tweets out, stop talking about the economy. We live in a community, not an economy. I'm sorry, but we live in an economy, all right? People's lives are the economy. Am I right or am I right? Okay. The two are not separate. They go hand in hand. Okay. You cannot separate the economy from people's lives. So don't bloody say, don't talk about the economy. And she's an economist. This grinds my bones, mate. When she's just nuts. I'm sorry.
She's at the ABC, so
what's your
publicly
opinion?
Funded again? Publicly funded. Exactly. The people are not going to lose their job.
This is why I said the publicly funded ABC. All right, because she doesn't have to worry about her job. She's covered. All right, we're paying her. She's sucking on our teat, mate. Right? So she's all right to say that. Stop talking about the economy, please. Maybe if she had half a brain, she would talk about the economy and in a authoritative way and a knowledgeable way. She obviously doesn't know stuff all about the economy if she's got if she can tweet out something like that.
Yes, unfortunately, that's ABC.
The ABC should be privatised. First thing Scott Morrison should have done when he became Prime Minister. And I wonder, would she tweet that out or have that opinion if, this JobKeeper, job seeker welfare wasn't on offer?
We ask ourselves, would she have that opinion if Mr. K. Rudd done this JobKeeper, job seeker program? But anyway, look, job seeker is not perfect and JobKeeper is not perfect, but I know what the government's trying to do. They're trying to stimulate the economy to make sure people aren't unemployed, and hopefully they can ride this wave out and get back to some sort of normality as such. I don't like using that word, but that's what their long-term, that's what their strategy is. And to a point, I think it may work a little bit. It may keep, like a lot of people now, instead of sacking people, they're going, I'll just keep on JobKeeper now. So it's kind of working. I was speaking to one of my clients. He made a very valid point. He goes, mate, this is the best thing that can happen to me. Because I'm actually going to keep my business and it's going to keep going. Even though my market's gone down, at least my biggest expense is wages. He goes, at least it's getting taken care of, a majority of it anyway. I was like, yeah, fair, cool. So just the only problem I'm going to have, the thing I have an issue with is, one, sooner or later, it's got to get paid back.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, the question is it going to happen in my lifetime? Well, considering I'm in the second half of my working career, probably not. Is it going to happen in your lifetime, Simon? Probably not, because you're the same as same as me. But it's going to definitely happen in my daughter's lifetime and your daughter's lifetime and your son's lifetime. So, yeah, interesting times ahead. What else? Nothing else?
No, I'm done. Time to wrap.
Yeah, time to wrap. But I'd like to say just again, special thanks to all our service vets and people serving in the Army, in the Navy, and the Air Force. We truly do appreciate them. So I'd like to say thank you.
We're going to close out the show with something different. It's a song called I Was Only 19. So it's about Vietnam vets. The band is Redgum, and I'm not sure exactly when it was released. But yeah, just listen to the lyrics. I think very poignant lyrics for a day like today, Anzac Day. And all the best. We'll catch you next week.
Over the 30-odd years since I wrote and recorded it, lots of people have said lots of very nice things about I Was Only 19. But for me, the song reminds us all that we can oppose a war vigorously if that's what our conscience demands of us. But we must always support and respect the people we send to fight it. This song's lasted so long, among other things, because it speaks the truth about PTSD. It sets it in a real-life context. Armed combat is the highest form of public service. When men and women come home from whatever conflict our government sends them to, we owe them and their families all the help and support that we can possibly give them. They didn't count the cost, and neither should we. I would like to think that my song I Was Only 19 honours all the men and women who've worn Australia's uniform and put themselves in harm's way in our name. We honour them, and we must stand with them when they face the difficult challenges of coming home. Oh, one last thing. Don't let anyone ever tell you that songs can't change the world. Mum and Dad and Denny saw the passing out parade, Puckapunyal. It was a long march from cadets, and the 6th Battalion was the next to tour. It was me who drew the card. We did Canungra and Shoalwater before we left, and Townsville lined the footpaths as we marched down to the quay. This clipping from the paper shows us young and strong and clean. There's me in me slouch hat with me SLR and greens. God help me, I was only 19. From Vungtau, Pride and Chinooks to the dust at Newey Dat, I'd been in and out of choppers now for months, and we made our tents a home, VB and pin-ups on the lockers, and an Asian orange sunset through the scrub. And can you tell me, doctor, why I still can't get to sleep? Night time's just a jungle dark and a barking M16. What's this rash that comes and goes? Can you tell me what it means? God help me, I was only 19. On a 4-week operation, when each step could mean your last one on 2 legs. It was a war within yourself, but you wouldn't let your mates down till they had you dusted off. So you close your eyes and you thought about something else, and then someone yelled out, "Contact front!" The bloke behind me swore. We hooked in there for hours, then it got almighty raw. Frankie kicked a mine the day that mankind kicked the moon. God help me, he was going home in June. I can still see Frankie drinking tinnies in the Grand Hotel on a 36-hour rec leave in Vungtau. And I can still hear Frankie lying screaming in the jungle till the morphine came and killed the bloody row. The Anzac legends didn't mention mud and blood and tears, and the stories my father told me never seemed quite real. I caught some pieces in my back that I didn't even feel. God help me, I was only 19. And can you tell me, doctor, why I still can't get to sleep? Why the Channel 7 chopper chills me to my feet? What's this rash that comes and goes? Can you tell me what it means? God help me, I was only 19.